Yeah, three things that you said really stuck out to me.
I normally say that education is probably one of the hardest industries to solve for.
Why education?
You need black swan events like the pandemic to shift that mindset.
Man, we can end this conversation right now and it's golden. Like seriously, like it's done. It's done.
The only North Star one can really hold is,
are you really solving a big problem or is it in your head?
Will has recently launched a $100 million education foundation. This initiative is set to empower the next generation of education and tech entrepreneurs worldwide. We'll delve into his vision and how it's building the bridge to the future of education. So whether you're a tech enthusiast or an education advocate or someone simply looking for inspiration, this episode, I promise, is going to deliver valuable insight. So sit back, put your earphones in, and just enjoy.
So welcome to another electrifying episode of the NextGen TechCEO's journey. I'm your host, Deano Delpleash, and today we'll be diving into the exciting world of education, tech, entrepreneurship, and innovation with a true tranquilizer. Now, joining us today is no other than Will Fan, and Will Fan is a visionary leader who wears many hats. He's the CEO and the head of the school at New Campus, a groundbreaking business school tailored to hypergrowth leadership in Asia. Will's passion evolves around the future of education, community building, and emerging markets. Over the past decade, he's been on a dynamic journey across regions like China, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, shaping the future of education. But that's not all. When he's that transforming the educational landscape, you often find him recharging through yoga, sharing his profound leadership insights in publications like Forbes and Entrepreneur, and even exploring the world of angel investing. Make sure you go and connect with Will now on his social media handles. Check out Hello Will Fan. He's on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Make sure you go and connect with his journey. Now, that's even more excited. Will's mission for the next 2 years. Yeah, not more excited as Will's mission for the next 2 years. He's just launched a $100 million education foundation in partnership with Animoko. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Invited. And we can't wait to hear more about how this initiative will empower the next generation of education and entrepreneurs worldwide. Welcome to the show, Will.
Deano, I need you to be my personal hype man. Thanks for the warm intro and excited to see what we cook up today.
Blessed. I must say, it's really a pleasure to have you here. One of the reasons why I'm so excited about this is education is involved. Yeah, this has been a major part of my journey coming from an island, and I've seen how valuable being educated is as a life. So what I would like to know as we're kicking this off is, tell me a bit about Will Fan's story. Yeah, how did he get started on this journey of mixing education, entrepreneurship, and tech? Tell me about it.
Yeah, great question, Deano. When I reflect on my journey building in the education space for almost a decade, when new entrepreneurs come to me and say, I want to build an education startup or I want to play in this space, I normally say that education is probably one of the hardest industries to solve for. There's, so much infrastructure, so much bureaucracy. How I fell into it was actually quite an accident. So my parents were both immigrants. My mom was a refugee from Vietnam going to Australia during the Vietnam War. And so as my dad, drove as a cab driver, my mom hustled. One of their biggest leapfrogs in life was to send their kids to good schools. And my late older sister, my young brother, had that blessing, alongside my peers and friendship circles that all went to great schools to pursue different careers and, move forward in our life. So growing up in my, the past three and a half decades of, being brought up, I saw the impact of education. And so as I kind of pivoted away from my previous life in corporate and started building in the business space, I kind of fell into, empowering others to do the same. And so, I'm going to my almost 10th year of building in the education space. And I just see this as, a combination of your life's work, meeting great people and continuously learning along the way.
That's really interesting. The reason why I'm saying it's interesting, a lot of the people who I'm following is similar, have a similar journey to you. I don't know if you're familiar with Vin Jiao. Yeah, and he always says an immigrant from Vietnam becoming an entrepreneur is like, trying to go against the grain. Yeah, so what I'm really curious about, what was that conversation like when you tell your family, your friends that, you're going to leave your comfortable corporate lifestyle and become an entrepreneur? Or what was that like?
I think everyone has their own journey and everyone has their own demons. Growing up, I would like to say I was quite exposed to being an entrepreneur. So my late grandfather, he went missing during the war. So he had the decision of sending a few of his kids through boat to China, sending some of his kids from, through boat to Thailand, and then trekking through the wild jungle with his my late grandma and a few of his kids. So making big, challenging decisions is something that I heard a lot of stories growing up. But what was, a big part of my DNA was that my grandfather and his siblings also ran, one of the most successful technology, hardware businesses in Vietnam growing up. And so when my external family, moved as refugees, that's actually what they naturally transitioned to. They set up real estate conglomerates, they set up grocery stores, they set up butcheries. And as a child, even though I went to school, even though, I ended up working in corporate, I saw a lot of that in the background. And that was kind of my spark to work on side hustles, work on side projects, and eventually, create my own path in building my brand and, bringing along people with me.
That's truly inspired. It's interesting that I usually tell people that I only become aware of the word entrepreneurship in 2017, but as you're sharing your story, that's actually a lie, because now you're telling me about your grandfather, your parents, and what they were doing. Maybe it wasn't called entrepreneurship, but at the core it is actually, and that spills off onto us as kids. Now, my next question would be, why education? Yeah, you mentioned that this is one of the most difficult space to be in, but why education?
So I think as I kind of evolve as a founder, it's really trying to figure out the narrative and positioning that allows you to move forward. But I mentioned Deano that I actually didn't see myself as an ed tech education and future work entrepreneur. How I landed into New Campus was really growing up. There were very few leaders that looked like me. I'm Australian-born Chinese, and coming out of western small suburbs of Sydney, there was actually very few Asian folks a few steps ahead that I could look up to. There was this one entrepreneur, Tim, who runs a very successful public company, and he was the only one that allowed me to get some exposure on what it'd be like to build a business of my background, of my history, of my culture. And so New Campus, 10 years later into this journey, is really trying to do the same. How do we empower the next generation of leaders coming from Asia, coming from Southeast Asia, and eventually in more emerging markets? I think we are disguised as an education business, but ultimately the theme is how do we, really create more pathways for folks like you and I to move forward.
Yeah. I really love that. When you talk about being disguised, as an educational business, it reminds me of one thing that my first business coach said, is that you gotta show them what they want, give them what they need. Yeah, and that sometimes there's a really small caveat there when it comes to show what people want so that you can really get them the attention. But what they need is something else on the back end. And what has been the most challenging part in you balancing that narrative between, being that disguise, but still empowering the next generation to really step up?
I think if you look at some of the fastest growing industries, the past 5, 10, 15 years, e-commerce, fintech, cryptocurrency, that has really been supported by velocity, interest of consumers, capital availability. Education alongside healthcare is one of the slowest moving industries, period. Right? Bureaucracy, legacy, the time it takes to build a strong brand. And I think that has really hammered into myself, my team, and my ecosystem on how hard it is to take that leap forward. I'd like to think that, if I had to turn back time, I probably wouldn't do a business like this. I'd probably do something where I could learn how to grow personally. But now that I'm here, I just see, a lot more, capability and change. And you need black swan events like the pandemic, like the GFC to shift that mindset. And so I wouldn't say it's, one challenge, but it's a series of, knuckles that keep beating you down. And as long as you keep moving forward, building up that scar tissue allows you to build a stronger position.
Yeah. One thing I like to say, those are your battle scars. And you can have great stories to tell is when you have those, as you said, black swan, there's black swan moments. Now, I'm curious, what has been your biggest lessons from one of those events during your journey so far?
Relationships matter. Relationships matter, Deano, because if I look at the history of the work that I've been doing, those moments of inflection points, it really comes down to the people that have either paid it forward for you or you pay forward for them. And I'll give you an example. So recently we launched a foundation with Open Campus. Obviously there's a lot of excitement around the investment, the capability, the impact that we want to create, bridging crypto and the education world. But the guy running it, Jonah, he was actually one of our first instructors in 2014.
Yeah.
And so having built, connections with folks like him, other partners in the new campus ecosystem, I kind of see this as just a stepping stone to build a greater brand and, greater impact over time. So I like to think that I'm 10 years into a, 20, 30-year journey building the next 100-year-old school. And that will take time in terms of building the right people around you.
Yeah. That landed deeply for me. And I believe all the other CEOs I'll be having conversation with would really resonate with what you just said. Relationship matters. Yeah. And so my next question for you would be, how do you approach nurturing the relationships that you have? What would you say is your secret weapon personally?
I think, as an introvert, it was always a big challenge for me to put myself out there and have those honest and open conversations. But as, obviously technology made it a lot more easier, it really allowed us not only to communicate, virtually like this, but quickly find your tribe. And I think when you find your tribe, one thing you're able to do is be yourself and really have your most authentic self at the table. And so as I kind of move forward, it's, putting my energy, doubling down on people that I really want to invest my time, my capability, my network, but also, be able to hold my time back for those that, may or may not need me right now. So I think as I kind of, rethought relationships, it's not relationships for everyone because we can't boil the ocean. We can't save and support everyone, but it's about being intentional and not, over investing your energy elsewhere.
Man, we can end this conversation right now and it's golden. Like seriously, like it's done. It's done.
Like I said, I need you as my personal hype man.
Okay, what I want to do at this point, because you said something really interesting, about having those really authentic conversation, and I want to start one of those conversations right now. So you remain at this conversation. I would love to ask you some questions, and if it comes to a point where you don't feel comfortable answering, you can let me know. Yeah, but I want to really explore a bit of your mindset and how you really work through the coming year. So I want you to imagine we're having this conversation, say, let's say 5 years from now. Yeah, and your life was better than you could ever imagine. What would you be telling me right now?
So my older sister passed away last year, about a year and a half ago. Bless her soul.
My condolences.
she's only 4 years my senior, 37. Peak of her career, really, built a name for herself in her space. And last year, if you were to kind of ask me the same question about what were my goals, it would be about the grind, the success, the capital, everything that is in between. But now moving forward, as I kind of, spent my last couple of weeks with her, I realized at the end of the day, personal sustainability, health, mental health is so important for you to move forward. And especially with this down market right now where everyone is in pain, everyone's suffering, everyone's questioning their next move, the only North Star one can really hold is your health. And so in 5 years' time, Deano, I would probably still be saying, hey, you know what? I just came back from a run, or I just went to do a yoga session, or, I'm still trying to solve big problems, but my health is, still moving up. And I think, that's a big part of what I'm trying to preach now. It doesn't really matter what you're doing as long as you're able to keep doing that. So that's probably going to be my conversation with you in 5 years' time.
Man, I really wish the persons who are listening to this really take note, because as especially entrepreneurs in tech, one big norm is the grind. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who I have this group of friends. We all went to school together and they're doing very interesting things on the island. Like they have founded one of the first online payment system on the island. Well, island people don't know anything about online payment systems. So you can imagine the resistance that they face, but they're very innovative. And I can remember having this one conversation with my friend. And what really hit my heart was when he told me that he knows health is important, but he can only focus on that when they became successful. And in my head, I know that's the illusion that he painted. That would never happen because the habit that he's building now is the habit that he's going to be taking with him. Now, my question to follow up on what you've just said would be, what would be some of the greatest challenge ahead for you if you got to create that which you've just shared?
I've actually completely changed my mindset towards challenges, Deano. Especially being in such a volatile world, personally and business, you never know what's going to be ahead for you. And so I take each day as a series of chess moves. And I told my team, my coaches, my investees, the same thing. Every day is just a series of chess moves that challenge yourself. I think what you should be doing is making sure that the problems that you're solving aren't the same. They're not new. They're not old. And so I actually don't see challenge as challenge. It's just a series of ways to grow and nurture and develop yourself. I think, personally, as I kind of, go to the next decade of building a new campus, obviously it's thinking more about new ways to create impact, new ways to bring in talent, new ways to, solve more meaningful problems. But again, just going back to first principles, how do you just keep solving interesting problems that push yourself?
Yeah, well said. Well said. No, that makes me curious. It sounds like you're a very present person, and maybe you have yoga and mindfulness to talk about that. Well, I'm curious, what would you say are some of your biggest strengths that give you this perspective on the way you look at life now?
So when Kat passed, I actually connected to a lot of friends that had family members pass. Either losing their child, either through losing, parent, a grandparent during COVID. And I do think grief actually creates a layer of invincibility because it rethinks what day-to-day problems are. And so when I kind of bring it back to the story about my late grandfather sending his kids to 3 different routes to survive, it allows you to not take your day-to-day problems as seriously. And I think that's really step one around having a position on, are you really solving big problems or is it just in your head? I think the second thing, Deano, is that one big part of my thesis is people should be doing hard things. And so if you're not trying to have a closed mindset, fixed mindset on just controlling what you have, and kind of open yourself up to the world, I think, in turn, you get a lot of, opportunities that fall your lap. So I don't think, it's a yoga practice thing. It's not, my business going the right direction thing. I just think over time, as you kind of find patterns you recognize and realize at the end of the day, as long as you're here, as long as you enjoy the process, as long as you build great relationships, that allows you to move forward.
There are three things that you said that really stuck out to me. And I think that I'll take these with me is that grief creates a layer of invincibility. And you also said, are you really solving a big problem or is it in your head? And people should really be doing hard things.
Yeah.
As I read those back to you, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I appreciate the pause. I think one of my, what I enjoy about conversations, it allows you to go deep into someone's background. Like, I've never met you before. You were a referral from a friend. And I think, again, it comes down to the importance of human connection. And hopefully, I think this conversation will probably continue over the next 5, 10, 15, 25 years. And I think that's the beautiful part of being in the space that we're in, right? Because coaching, education, future of work is all about interconnectivity. And, as we kind of put a pin on where we are today, it allows us to reflect and laugh back on, where we'll be tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I want to really say thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing vulnerably. Yeah, and when it comes to having conversation around even grief and passing, sometimes that can bring up old wounds. So I really respect that courage. Now let me ask you, what has been your biggest insight from our conversation so far?
It's so important to have these moments to reflect. And I tell this to, founders going through our accelerator, leaders that go through our program, companies that we back, founders that I coach. I have a weekly, WhatsApp personal journal. And it has actually been incredibly powerful for me to look back on the year, which has been extremely turbulent. And there's two things I ask myself. One is, what am I most proud of this week, and what I'm hoping to achieve next week? And as you kind of document those personal touch points, it allows you to realize that, hey, it's okay that you're stuck this week, but as long as you're moving the dial forward, that's all that matters. And so that's, what conversations like this, Deano, give me a lot of joy, because it's really a reflection point around how far I've come, but also how far people should be going as they, embark as entrepreneurs and whatnot.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's another golden nugget as well. And what I want to do with this segment is I'm going to be asking you some quick fire questions, and you can answer only yes or no. There's no maybe. Yeah, and if you start sticking, I'll be rushing you a bit. Yeah, so they'll be coming fast. Are you ready for these?
Let's go.
Awesome. Now, the first one is, do you think entrepreneurship can be taught? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is failure necessary for growth?
Yes.
Are free perks and benefits worth it?
Yes.
Is work-life balance achievable as a founder?
Yes.
Should tech CEOs be on social media?
Absolutely.
Are mastermind groups worth it?
Depends.
Yes or no? Will?
Yes.
Do you speed read?
Sorry?
Do you speed read?
No.
Have you pulled an all-nighter in the past month?
No.
Do you have a daily routine?
No.
Do you believe there's one way to lead? Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And the final question would be, if this was your very last message, to those who are listening, aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring future tech CEOs who will be shaping the next generation of leaders, what would your last message be, Will?
People should be doing hard things.
Both. Yes. Yeah. Now, where can we learn more about your work?
You can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I talk a lot about the future of work, communities, education, Web3. I'm actually quite easy to get connected. So feel free to ping me. I'm quite active on multiple platforms. And again, if you're interested to hear about my work at Open Campus or New Campus or my personal life, just feel free to hit me up.
Awesome. This is Will Fun. Everyone, listen closely, stay connected, and let's keep the ball rolling. It was such a pleasure hearing your story, Will, and I'm looking forward to nurturing this relationship over the next 25 years. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, buddy. Take care of yourself.
You've heard the stories and strategies of today's top tech CEOs. But where do you fit in? What's your unique superpower as a founder? Now take our free CEO type quiz to unlock your leadership blueprint and gain insights to maximize your potential. Now go to levelupwithdeano.com and take just 3 minutes to complete this quiz. Instantly receive a detailed report revealing your CEO type along with a personalized 3-phase plan for achieving abundance and freedom on your term. Are you a visionary, a driver, an analyst, community builder, or self-improver? Take the quiz now and own your entrepreneurial journey. Discover what makes you tick as a founder and learn to lead from your sweet spot for success. That's www.levelupwithdeano.com. Spelling matters. Make sure you get it right. Take the quiz and start leading on your term, your way. This is your key to freedom, and go and get it. levelupwithdeano.com.